What's up, guys? It's your boy TPP, and I'm back with that true crime talk, baby. Let's go. Before we jump into it, though, do me a huge favor, guys. Big, massive, huge favor. Won't cost you anything, though. Smash that like, and if you haven't already, join the crew. Smash that subscribe. Once again, free to do. Smash it, and if you're feeling extra generous, hit that little bell notification. You know what I mean? Let you know when I drop new videos. That being said, let's jump into it. Topic for this video. Got a new trial I'm following about 5 days in, and like I was saying in a couple of my last videos, I don't know, with some of these trials I'm gonna play ear by ear, trial by trial, and I may not cover each trial on a daily like I have been, just because there are some of these trials that are either extra heinous in nature and are really hard to listen to every day. I mean, I'm still going to listen to them every day. I don't want to bring that extra negativity on these horrible cases. You have those types that I just don't want to do the daily breakdown. You know what I mean? Unless there's something significant to come break down, then I'll do it. But yeah, I'm gonna try to just recap things. You know what I mean? So on this trial, and then the other types are, ones that are super slow, lots of sidebars, and there's just not a whole lot to talk about, right? So on those trials, I'll update you when something significant happens. So anyways, this trial, though, this new one, is a cold case. A young lady from Arizona, Alissa Turney, right? 20 years ago, she disappeared at 17 years old, May 2001. Disappeared. And 20 years later, her stepfather has been indicted for her murder. You heard me right. Now, this is a 5-day recap. The trial's been going for about 5 days, and you know how trials are. Sidebars, breaks, witnesses that aren't on schedule, this, that. But 5 days, I got some stuff for y'all to think about on this one, right? So the family breakdown on this is Alissa, right, and her brother, biological brother, from their mother, right, came into a family situation with Alyssa's stepfather, who already had sons. Apologize. And after they got together, Alyssa's mom and her stepfather had her little sister Sarah. By the way, who is actually a YouTuber, a podcaster, which I thought was pretty interesting. Okay. Now, the dynamics in the family, basically, you can tell this gentleman, the stepfather, you can tell he's a little controlling. And there's going to be a lot of speculation in this trial, right? Because you're talking about something that happened, quite a while back, 20 years, right? Now, I just do like the speculation thing because from what I'm hearing as this trial goes on, is it seems like as fast as the kids could leave the home, they did. And it sounds like this stepfather, Michael Turney, was incredibly controlling. And when I say incredibly controlling, all right, guys, we're used to our houses having surveillance on them now with all the new technology we have. It's not really out of place to have things under surveillance. Well, that wasn't the case back in 2001. Back in 2001, it was pretty rare to have a house that was like set up with security cams like we have now. And not only was their house set up with security cameras, there was a security camera in one of the air vents that was purposely aimed at one of the couches that Alissa Turney spent her time on. You know what I mean? Which, might not be strange, except for the fact that the youngest daughter, the little sister, Sarah, she was told by the father, don't tell your sister that, that this is here. This is so I could watch her. Yeah. Now it gets even better. So we have outside security, inside security cams. But also, think about this. Back in the day, right, when we didn't have all the technology, the stuff that was going on that we do now, it was drastically different, right? Not only did he have that, all the surveillance was set up in his room on a monitor, and he had voice recording on the home telephone. And you all remember back in the day, if you don't, let me enlighten you, 90s to just coming into 2000s, bro, not a lot of us had cell phones. Some of us did, not everybody did. And, a drastic amount of us had to rely on that old landline, right? Talking to our friends. So, yeah, he had that set up with a recorder. The moment you picked it up on a phone call, it started recording you. Strange, right? Absolutely strange. So, that's the dynamics of the family structure and some of the things that were kind of strange that were going on at this point in time. Now, what's also come out in this trial is the fact that the relationship between Alissa and her stepfather was very contentious. He was very hard on her. Very, very hard on her, right? And, from what I'm hearing, what I've heard on testimony, it's like definitely she was a wild child. You know what I mean? She's a free spirit. Wasn't a bad person. Very kind to everybody she knew. But the girl liked to do what she wanted to do. And when you have a child like that with a parent that is, controlling to the level that her stepfather was, ain't going to be a good mix. It's not going to go over well. So it doesn't make for a very contentious relationship. Now, it's a lot, guys. There's a lot. So the story is, from him, the day she went missing, that, the two daughters got to school, this and that, and that he went to go pick, Alissa up after school, and she wasn't there. So then after he noticed she wasn't there, he goes to pick up Sarah, the youngest daughter, from, school. But he was late getting there, so she would go to her friend's house that was fairly close to the school, and he would pick her up there. So when he picks her up, he's like, I can't get a hold of your sister. Have you heard from your sister? And, basically goes into that, something's off. We can't get a hold of her, can't find her. So they go back to their home, and they get there, no sign of Alissa, right? They go up to her room, and it looks like her book bag had been dumped out, right there in the entryway of her room. And then they find her cell phone in there, and then they find a note saying that she can't, deal with this type of situation more, this and that, and that she took some money that was in the home that was her stepfather's, and she bounced. Now, living in Arizona, she had family out in California, right? So everybody thought, well, maybe she took off to California. Okay. Well, immediately, stepfather starts, going through the motions that you would if you actually cared about your child missing. All the things, call law enforcement, putting up flyers, trying to dig into, just every little piece of evidence he could find. Shortly after her leaving, right, he supposedly had got a phone call from her, like this muffled phone call, and this and that, and they that was it. And he reported it, and he told everybody that he knew it was her, and basically solidifying that she's alive. She's just run away. So we all know what happens during investigations when law enforcement thinks it's a runaway situation, right? And it's somebody of 17, almost 18. They ain't gonna look into it too much, man. They're not going to. So he's making a big deal out of them not looking into it as much as he'd like. He's claiming to be doing like all these things to go find her, to help find her, this and that, telling the family all these certain things that he's doing, and everybody's taking it as like, yeah, that's the gospel, that's what he's doing. And all the while he's told detectives, he's told police and this and that, a bunch of negative things about his stepdaughter. I mean, pretty bad stuff. And then he's kind of turned around and he's told all the family members that haven't really been around her too much lately, like that she's got like ADD and like she's this and she's that, basically making her look really horrible, right? Now, this goes on for years until finally a little piece of information comes out. And come to find out, old Michael actually had picked her up from school early that day. Yeah, yeah. So he lied about saying he went to the school and she wasn't there, right? He lied about that. Why would he lie about that? Well, let's get into that. I mean, obviously, because he probably did this. He's probably the reason she disappeared. But why would he do that? Why would this controlling father, right, who's got surveillance everywhere, who's completely fighting with his daughter all the time, his stepdaughter all the time, you know what I mean? Like, why? Why would he make her disappear? I don't know, guys. I don't know. Maybe because there's talk of contracts that he would try to have her sign, and within these contracts, there was claims that he never inappropriately touched her or her sister. The fuck? Are you serious? And then, right, maybe she's becoming of age. She had a job. She was saving money. Now that we found bank records on everything, the detectives that have relaunched back into the investigation, the girl had money in the bank. She had a bank account. She'd been working and saving up money. So the moment she could get the hell out, she was going to get the hell out. And I tell you right now, with the type of language in these letters that have been brought up in court, bro, you think the moment she left, and she felt secure to do so, if there was anything going on in that home that was bad, she was going to let it be known. 100% she was going to let it be known. But anyways, back to the whole job situation and bank account. Now, the day that she's missing, this note claimed that she had taken money and that she was leaving, blah, blah, blah. Why would she have had to take money from her father when she had like over $1,000 in the bank? And this is back in, 2001. And in $1,000, I think it was like 1,800 or something like that. I can't exactly remember the exact amount, but back then, dude, that was a good amount. That's a good little chunk. It wasn't, you ain't balling, but you definitely could get away, if you had somewhere to go. And you would probably take that with you if that was your plan to run away, right? And let's think about it too. If you had planned to run away, wouldn't you take your cell phone with you? Wouldn't, you would take most of your prized possessions with you, personal possessions? She took nothing. She just up and took off. At least that's what Michael is claiming. So, make it make sense. So there's really no way to make it make sense. None of this is gonna make sense, right? Yeah, guys, I don't know about this one. This one sounded pretty bad. Every day that rolls by, the more and more information that comes out on this one, it's like, damn, this man basically, after she went missing, tried to spearhead the whole thing to find her. And then we're starting to hear more and more as this trial goes on that these things that he claimed that he did to find her, a lot of it they can't prove that he did at all. And then this telephone call that he supposedly got from her from California, there was no way to actually verify that really happened the way that he claimed that it did. And why would it come from California? Well, if I was a betting man and this individual had it set up any which way. Of course, he picked California because she's got family from California, right? So that makes more sense. If I'm going to plot and say my kid ran away after I did something horrible to him, I'm going to say, yeah, they ran away to a state where they have family, right? I mean, that kind of makes sense to me. So this case is crazy, man. All the little details to it are pretty crazy. But here's another crazy thing that happened before the disappearance, right? So Alissa had a boyfriend. Like I said, she was a little bit of a wild child, a little bit of a free spirit. And she was working at Jack in the Box at the time, right? Well, she got a little friendly with one of the managers and had brought him over one evening. And they had, hung out in the room. And then I guess her dad found out they're in the room and asked them to move out to the living room, where they moved out to the couch where that video is pointed, that recorder's pointed. And that video records them, a little heavy petting, a little making out and stuff. Dude ends up leaving, right? Well, after that happens, Michael, the following day or days, ends up telling Alyssa's boyfriend about it. Bruh, I mean, talk about wanting to sabotage your kid's life, to control it and then sabotage it when you feel like you're not regaining control of anything, like you're losing all control. Like, oh man, narcissist in a hat, bruh. Like, I don't condone cheating. And me and my kid would have a serious talk. But I'm not outing them like that. I'm gonna make them deal with it. Crazy. But then another crazy little tidbit, right, guys? Granted, it's been 5 days, so I'm trying to pull it all together for you. I don't script this stuff. I'm just go off the cuff. Probably should script it, though. Whatever. So another little interesting tidbit is I talked about the surveillance, right? Full on. If she came home from school that day and had gotten the money, had, dumped her bag, whatever, and then said, deuce, I'm out, that would have been on surveillance. There would have been recording of it. There is no recording of it. And I bet you're like, well, I mean, come on, man. Come on. Piscine? What are you talking about? That was 20 years ago. How are they going to have any footage of it? Well, let me tell you this. Whenever they started kind of figuring out that he might have had something to do with this because of this whole him picking her up from school early thing came out, when then the investigators started going in on it, right? And they started retrieving all of his, personal effects, videotapes being one of them. Bro, he had recordings, library of recordings for years, bro. Insane amount of years. Like, absolutely insane. So, they have all this video proof of that whole time frame, but that day does not show Alissa showing up back at the house after school to retrieve money, to retrieve her anything. But somehow, her backpack and phone and that note ended up back at that house. She didn't, but her stuff did. So, if he was the one that picked her up early from school, that would have been him being the last one to see her, and her being picked up from school would say that she has her book bag and her phone. How did that book bag and phone get back to the house without her showing up on video? Only people that ever shows coming and going from that home once the girls are gone is Michael Turney. Come on, man. I know it's all circumstantial at this point, but I'm going to tell you a little secret too. Michael Turney's biological daughter, Sarah, the youngest daughter, the one I told you is a YouTuber, podcaster, She believes he did it. She absolutely believes he did it and has asked him multiple times to please confess before he passes away so that they can get closure as a family. Because this dude, he ain't looking too good. He don't look like he can be making it too much longer. So, man, this one's a crazy trial, guys. It's a crazy trial. It's kind of long. It's kind of drawn out. But every day, a little bit more and a little bit more comes out. And then, obviously the jury doesn't get to hear a lot of like the arguments outside of them being in there, where defense is trying to keep certain, documents out or certain language out of the whole situation. But the biggest one they've tried to keep out this whole time is anything that has to do with SA or inappropriate touching of any sort. Why? Why would they keep that out? I'm telling you, it goes back to my theory on this, man. My theory on this is that man was doing bad things to that girl. Doing bad things to that girl that he would have never done to his biological daughter. And when that girl started acting out and acting the way that she did, that's usually a big indicator. Oh, let me back. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys, too. Shortly after Sarah was born, a few years after Sarah was born, the youngest one, see, this is going to make more, this will put more into context for you guys. I apologize. This should have been in the very beginning. Yeah, Alissa and Sarah's mom passed away from cancer. So, a couple years in, from that point on, he was raising those girls. So that being said, that's why I had so much of the stuff that happened. But anyways, we all know that when, kids act out, especially young ladies act out in a wild-spirited way, you know what I mean? Free-spirited way like this, a lot of times it's because they've experienced trauma or abuse. So as I'm listening to this whole trial, I'm like taking in human psychology and the way things happen with people that have gone through some serious trauma like this. And she fits the bill. She has all the hallmarks of a child who has seen some type of abuse. Not just a controlling stepfather, but some serious abuse. So that's why my theory is that she experienced this control and this abuse after her mother died. And then she got to the point where she was getting to where she was going to be old enough to leave out on her own. She started working, putting money away, right? And this man was paranoid that the moment that she jumped ship at that house and got herself settled, that she was probably going to out him for what he is, so that she could protect her little sister and make this man, serve just have justice served upon him. That's my theory, anyways. That's my theory on it. But it seems like more and more I'm hearing in this trial, the more that theory makes sense, and the more the more contradictions are unveiled of things that he said he was doing, but there's no proof of it. Things that he's told family, that family reported to law enforcement at the beginning, but there's no proof of any of it. And all of the family, you can tell as they're getting on the stand, they're taking that stand because they want to, because they realize they've been lied to by this man. And I believe most of the family believes he has something to do with her disappearance. So between all these little small details and circumstantial evidence and the family members looking like they believe he did it, in my strong opinion, I believe he did it. There's nothing else makes sense to me, guys. There's nothing else that makes sense at all. But yeah, that's what we got so far on this trial. I don't see a lot of people covering it. I don't know why they should. This one, it's a 20-year-old cold case, man. I really hope this girl, I hope she gets justice, man. 20 years later, I truly hope it happens. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. You'll be watching this trial, and as soon as there's more information, I'll jump up, give you guys the updates, and let you know how things are going. But that being said, you know what's up. Until next video, it's your boy, the Piscine Predator, aka TPP, baby. Much love, y'all. I'm out. Peace.